Thanks for coming. Came off a very, a fun weekend. More overtimes than I've ever played in a weekend. But proud of the fight that the girls showed, continuing to compete and be in these situations. And so lots to learn from them today. More end-of-game film than I've ever had. So that'll be fun to look at and continue to get better from. But just proud of the fight and our continued commitment to improving. And I think I'm also just really proud of the way they're approaching this mentally now. I think we hit a point that got a little difficult, and I think that we left this weekend, just with our mind and our heart in a better place, understanding the areas that we are in control over, and recognizing the accountability that we all have, myself included especially. So I'm excited to get to practice today.
After a game like the one that you played, does it take a while to kind of process that and to, I guess, sigh and exhale and all that?
Yeah, I think there was great space for that. Both of those games, double overtime and then triple overtime, there's a lot of moments that, we had opportunities. And I think that, it's important that we can be accountable. It's important that we can look back and say, I could have made a better decision, or, someone could have done something different from a strategic standpoint or play standpoint. But also to understand that those are fixable. And so to kind of be excited about them, if that makes sense. We say a lot, feedback is a gift. And the feedback is, the outcome, not just the overall outcome, but the outcome of that play or that moment. And so I think that we did take time to be disappointed, to talk about a lot of it already. Today we'll watch a lot of it, and that's hard. But it will, I think because of where our mind and hearts are, I think be something that bonds us closer, because we can sit in there and take ownership of that together and be encouraged that there are controllable things that we can continue to improve on.
You mentioned that we had a conversation about you and how fastidious you are at note-taking and keeping notes. And you also mentioned that your end-of-the-game review, more than you've ever done. What did your end-of-the-game notes look like?
Oh, well, mostly it's just, I think it's my responsibility to make sure that we're a team that in each situation has as much experience and preparation as we can have. And I think that, I look back at end of games and think about, I don't know if I've told us this or explained this or shown that. And so it was a lot of those kind of things, like, do we understand the, responsibilities of the inbounder and their communication responsibilities? Do we understand what we're looking for in each play? So we know the play, but we understand why we're using it and how. And so those were the kind of notes I took after the game.
Is it too, I guess, easy to say, after, with that last game, guys were like outscored 13-2 at the end, that like all of it just was like, double overtime before, triple overtime, that the team ran out of gas at the end?
Well, both teams were exhausted, and so I don't want to take anything away from Arizona. Battled their tails off, and we battled ours. We had 2 players foul out though, and they did not, and so we were in a much difficult position from a physicality standpoint to line up. We had no post players in the game, and then one of our guards that plays some forward for us fouled out as well. And so we were in a lineup situation that definitely, again, this is on me, not them, that did not, how do you run your end of games in a situation where we've never had this lineup in? And you're doing them without a lot of timeouts at this point. We've timed out ourselves to death at that point. Eddie and I are back and forth. And so that definitely was difficult. I think you saw probably I look back and say, well, they really needed me to probably help them from a schematic scheme standpoint. From a defensive scheme standpoint more, because we did have a size issue. And so I thought they battled. I definitely think that, you could see the weariness of a a Lauren Swartz who's a 2 guard playing the 5, given her everything she'd had in that game, and most, like you said, our players had.
Yeah, and was about to ask about her. From everything to her shot in regulation to career high 27, just what did you see? And even playing the 5 there. What did you see from her in that game?
Yeah, I mean, a great example again, of what servant leadership looks like. I thought there were so many things. You mentioned the shot, you mentioned playing out of position, you mentioned physicality that she goes against. I think that she's out there with a group of people that haven't really been in that situation by the end, and out of position, not sure that they can even line up in the play right at that point because we're in out of position so badly. And we kind of left her on an island a few times at the end of games in offense, and she's just still battling and fighting her tail off. And so I just appreciate her heart so much. I think the really coolest thing was, though, is that when you have that shot not count, she took a moment to, it takes a moment like, oh, it doesn't count, and then she flipped the switch. And she was like, okay, and lays out, and, I'm going to be the 5, and let's go, and started communicating with her team and continued fighting. So great example.
Been in a 3 overtime game before?
Yes.
How long ago?
Long time. Yeah, we won that one. So, but that was when, my first year in coaching was when we first put advances in. Women's basketball was my first year that women's basketball didn't get to advance until my first year as a head coach. So that's, I think, when I fell in love with NBA, because I had to watch so much film that year to prepare myself for why and when and what sets. And so it was, it's fun. It's fun for the fans. It's fun for the game. It's an IQ moment as well as heart and soul, like you've asked about many times. And I thought both teams really competed and executed to the best of our abilities. And both will look back and say there were things we could be better at, and they finished better.
Does it take a toll the day after, or is it just
I think we really wanted our entire team and staff to rest. That's a long, long weekend. And so I hope that, I think that they all had to. I was fortunate, that they didn't have class and stuff, so they were able to actually rest as we play on Sundays. And I saw a few of them already, and you can tell that it helped.
Your thoughts on Sellers as a starter?
Yeah.
Went from, I guess, in these past 3 games, just from 0 to 14 to 20.
Yeah.
What have you seen?
Yeah, well, we just watched film together this morning. So much growth. I mean, if you took her film from when she first started to today, it feels like you're just so proud of her. She's put so much work in, and she's so humble, and just couldn't wait to watch film. She hit me immediately, and and wants to see everything. That's what somebody's going to be really, really special when she wants to see. And doesn't shy away from it. She knows what's coming. When you see a defensive play or something, and she's like, oh, I remember this play. I'm like, you want to see it? Yep. And so she already knows. And so just great growth, accountability. I love her confidence right now, that when you see something that you maybe could have done better, that you can also see the things you did well. So a lot of people can only see one or the other. And she sees both really well.
Does she have anything that is kind of her identity yet? Like, is it her outside shot seemed to be her thing early on, but has that grown, more evolved? Is she doing other things that you like?
I think she impacts the game on both ends now. I mean, she had some critical steals lately, and even in that game did. Understanding, the scheme, she's able to be a little bit more aggressive. I think there's more steals coming from her, and she's doing a great job on that end of the floor as she's recognizing when is her time and playing more without fouling. So she was able to be in. That was awesome. And really impacting the game. I think she's realizing how strong she is. And now she's taking the ball to the basket really strong and finishing through contact. You also see that she switched onto the 5 a couple of times in the game and held her own in the low post. And so I think she's just recognizing her gifts. I mean, there's not a part of the game she can't impact in a really positive way.
And, your offense does your offense need like a pass first point guard? You know, like somebody to run it, or can like it feels like you have guards who are interchangeable.
Yes, I mean, we want players that can score. And so scoring point guard is really important to us. And both her and Hannah, and they can play together, which I love. So they play positionless. And I love that they can be on the floor together. And Savia has that ability to get to the basket, to create shots for herself and others, which I think makes this offense very deadly as we know it more and more. Yeah.
Is there one or two things looking forward to the final run to the end of the season? Is there one or two things that maybe a breakthrough, just crossing that line to get a little bit better at? It's going to make a huge difference towards the end of the year.
I mean, my honest answer to that is I cannot wait to go to practice. It always is. I can't wait to sit down and see film. I love to see how we're going to approach the film we will watch today will be hard because it is the decision making at the end of games. But it's just as hard for all of us. All of us can be better. And I think when we can have that kind of accountability and honesty, it brings a group really close. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the week of practice. We got two totally different teams coming up from the last two teams we played. And so now our size will be extreme. One's a zone team, one's more man, and, both are talented. And so just getting ready, I think that I can't say enough how proud I am of how they're responding. And so I, can't wait to go to the gym with them. And that's the thing I'm looking the most forward to.
And like the big picture, anything that you're seeing in this 6-game streak here that's repeating, that needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
What's going on with this streak?
It's a great question. So I think one of the things that's been a little bit more obvious, it's probably just to everyone, is like how we begin is still there. And so 14-0, and then losing in triple overtime seems like there might have been something fixable there. So we've got to look at how we're coming out, especially in the Sunday game. But both. And, I think from a rebounding standpoint, we understand our size, and I think we've got to be a better box-out team. I think we could have some advantages on the board and against some teams even despite size, because we have some really great individual rebounders, athleticism-wise. We've had some breakdowns on the defensive end that would have won a game for us. That we'll continue to work on. And then offensively, we had some great work this week. I was excited for going down there. We played a little faster at Arizona State, came out. We didn't shoot it well, but we were open and we took some shots we should take. We still need to attack a little bit more, have a little bit more attack mindset. In the Arizona game, even when we got into late game situations, we ran some plays and the very first catch was open, and we would turn that down at times, and then we would be against a very pressure man-to-man team. So we want to take those shots. So I think we're still finding our way with that aggressiveness on the offensive end as well.
In like hindsight-wise, and I don't remember how this went down or anything, but back in the summer, did you feel that you had enough size to be, because now again, like hindsight is perfect, but see now that you kind of need more size,
yeah.
and it really showed up this.
It did.
Weekend.
Yeah. No, I think we knew coming into the season that we didn't have enough size. And we did talk to some players this past summer about, and tried to look at what might be a good fit for us. I think the hard part of building a program is when you're heading the right direction and the people in the room are the right people. You want to make sure you don't misstep. And if it does hurt us a little bit a year, can we continue to build our culture and survive with what we have? You look across the league, and there's teams a little bit like us, like a USC or a Utah that's, the smaller, kind of one or two post team. And so I feel like it was important for the culture that we made the right decision. And will I have made the right decision on that? I think so. If we can find our way from a schematic standpoint to give ourselves a chance to win, which we keep having a chance in almost every game. And so, and that would give us a great step going forward foundationally.
How much pressure or that fine line for Danielson to to
Yeah.
play aggressive and then not to play so aggressive because,
Yeah.
there's, then Lauren then has to play.
Yeah.
Go through the process.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I talked with her yesterday, and I want to make sure she doesn't feel that way. And she's an incredible person. I think she's an incredible player. She is that player that can play and help us in so many ways. And she has great moments in games. And I do think that, it could feel that at times for her, and we want to make sure it doesn't. We've got to build our depth. We actually have to build around her. And that gives her the freedom to be the dynamic player that she is. And so we're continuing to do that with our individual workouts and player development. And I thought Jada Noble had some great moments in the Arizona game that helped us a lot and continues to shine, especially on the defensive end of the floor. And Olivia's been working really hard as well. And so, but I really want to compliment Delia and how she's handled the position that she's been in, the heart that she has to be the best she can for her team, and how she's continuing to work and take on that role.
You guys got 4 games left. What's the message?
Just same it's like, let's get in the gym and see that the areas that we need to improve. There's going to be some, when we look back at that game, we've kind of said several times, like, we're so close. And I'm like, well, actually, if we look back in the game, there was a lot of things that we could have done differently that would have made it not close. So let's understand there's several things that need to be improved and get excited about, well, if we just improve slightly in a few of these areas, you potentially have a different outcome. And so, we want to get going on some of the areas you and I just mentioned, and so let's get our trans D, our rebounding, our help the helper, and different things that we've been working on.
And just the last one for me, just put a brief scouting report on Oregon and what are things that you guys need to do against them.
Well, arguably the largest team in our league, and so the size is impressive. And then they've got great players. He's done a really good job, given that they've been through some transitions with injury, and Kelly's an incredible coach, and so they're playing well, and the players that they have that are really talented are really playing well right now, and they can look very different from night to night. And so we want to be prepared for the styles of play that they've shown, and make sure that we're ready to compete against the zone, which we haven't seen as much of lately, and obviously for an incredible battle on the boards in the paint. Thank you both.